What is going on, everybody? So we're back again with another super exciting Friday night. It is Friday, September 2nd, about 10 p.m. Miss May headed out to go have a little girls' night out in town. One of her friends, it's her birthday weekend. So what I'm gonna do tonight, is actually run through the Q&A that I posted up on my Instagram. Now, one of my most viewed, most popular, continuously most commented on videos is actually, I think, like my second ever video I put up about a year and a half ago called "So You're Thinking About Joining the Military." Now, as many of you may know or may not, I spent 6 years active duty serving in the United States Army. I joined actually when I was still 17 through the delayed entry program, my Christmas vacation, my senior year of high school. And then I shipped out for basic training in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri that following summer. It was July of 2003. And so I was following suit in a long family tradition. Our father was in the Army, our uncle was a Marine, our grandfather was in the Army, World War II actually. Our father served in Persian Gulf. Basically all the way back until the Civil War, Chewnings have always had a presence in the military, pretty much every generation. Now, I'm the only one in my generation to serve in the military. Max did not, my brother. Brittany did not, my sister. But we do have a first cousin who spent several years active duty in the Air Force and is now currently in the reserves. So I'm just gonna scroll through rapid fire and answer as in detail as I can. Now, some of the questions I may not be able to get into as much information because the nature of my job when I was in the Army, which I'm sure again, I'm getting ahead of myself here, was that I served in the military intelligence branch. I joined as a 98 X-ray cryptologic linguist. Basically that means an intelligence analyst with a language. So they kind of combine two different jobs. There's the intelligence analyst part, and there's a secondary component if you are native in a language or can test out in a language or go through the Military Language Training Academy out in Monterey, California, the Defense Language Institute. It's about a year, depending on the language you learn, and they crank out really, really fluent, top-notch linguists in the equivalent time of what would take you about 4 years if you went to college for it. How much does the Army benefit your life, and would your life be heading in the direction it is now without it? Shout out from Australia. Good day, mate. Let's throw another shrimp on the barbie. How did the Army benefit my life? The Army molded my life to a certain extent. I always like to feel that I went into the military with a pretty level head on my shoulders. I grew up in like I said, our dad was in the Army. I went to a private school, so I already had a lot of structure and purpose and drive in my life. But what the Army gave me that I don't think that I would have now if I didn't go in was just kind of honestly a very big open mind. Not that I didn't have one before. You learn very quickly, because you have to, that the guy or girl to your left, to your right, is gonna probably need to save your ass at one point in time. And you just have to trust everybody that you're in the same situation with, because they have to do the same with you. So it immediately opened my eyes and just allowed me to kind of really accept everyone, because we knew that we were there for a common cause. And honestly, it's just kind of a lot of personal courage. I'm gonna get really cheesy here and just list like the Army core values, but personal integrity, respect. A lot of things that the military promotes, and especially the Army, were all things that I had, and it further solidified and 100% is a huge part of what makes me the person I am today. Were you and Nick Bear in the Army at the same time together? Are you guys friends outside of the YouTube world? No, actually Nick, I don't even think he was in until after I was already out. I served from 2003 to 2009. Nick Bear has another YouTube channel, owns Bear Performance Nutrition. It's where I get all my supplements from the most part, my creatine, my workout, my pre-workout, my intro workout, BCAAs, and then they just came out with a new pump product. So we have not actually met in person. He is currently in Korea, but we do have plans for a meetup in October, November when he gets back to Austin. So stay tuned, Nick Bear, Chewning collab coming soon. Is the training really difficult as people say it is? Honestly, I don't know. I feel like I said earlier, I went in really kind of well prepared. I already kind of knew a lot of what to expect because my dad really coached me and explained to me really well of what to expect and how to play the game, especially in boot camp. I'm not gonna lie, boot camp sucked. But looking back on it, I would definitely go back and do it again. It sucked, but it was a lot of fun, if that makes sense. Blowing stuff up, learning a bunch of really cool skills, really learning what you are made of, because the whole point of boot camp is to show you what you can and cannot do when you're pushed to extreme limits. Physically, mentally, emotionally. And so I think it was difficult in the sense, I've never gone through anything that physically strenuous in my life. About 6 months leading up to it, I played baseball my whole life, I played lacrosse, but about 6 months leading up to it, I just did structured, regimented running, a lot of cardio. The biggest thing I can tell anyone going into it is that if you can make it past the medical screening, physically you're fine. I always tell people to just start running now before you go in, but it's all a mind game. You just have to know and trust that the drill sergeants there, the people there, are all for the same purpose. It's because they want you to succeed, and they're yelling at you and being aggressive and abrasive for a purpose, because potentially down the road, you're gonna have bullets flying in your direction. You're gonna be under a timeline. You're going to be having to make a really tough call under a lot of pressure, and they need to know that you are capable of doing it, or at least can be trained to do that. Why'd you join the Army over the other branches? My story started off in the Air Force recruiter's office. My dad kind of told me, honestly flat out, he told me, he said, Chase, you're too smart for the Army. Go look at maybe the Air Force for, the intelligence field. I went and met with an Air Force recruiter, was kind of just very blasé about it. She was just like, oh yeah, maybe here, take a look at the list of jobs, the MOSs. MOS is nothing more than the military equivalent of your job in the Army, in the Air Force, in the military, whatever. And honestly, just didn't really seem to give a shit. And so as I was walking out, I was like, oh, okay, well, I didn't really learn anything new. The Army recruiter was across the hall, was super outgoing, super energetic. Really was just, he just sold me on the military, and he went above and beyond and just made sure that I got my college, I got my sign-up bonus, and he really sold me on the Army. What was your favorite place to be stationed at? My favorite place to be stationed. Now, I've traveled a lot of places, thank you to Uncle Sam, thanks to the military, but my favorite station was probably my first one, my AIT up in Monterey, California, Defense Language Institute. I was there for a little over a year, almost a year and a half, not quite, but there's really, if you're gonna be stuck in a place learning Russian every day for a year, Northern California is not a bad spot to do it. Did you do any tours? If not, would you have wanted to? How would you have felt about shooting and potentially killing someone? Now, this is a question I had to ask myself a lot going into. I joined after 9/11 when we were going into Operation Iraqi Freedom. And the job that I signed up for was intentionally for a specific skill set that I wanted to then transfer out of into the civilian sector. I didn't join, I didn't go infantry. I didn't plan on going into the military because I wanted to really be in harm's way, get put in harm's way, or be in charge of someone else's life. But I knew that going into the military in any form, and this is important for anyone looking to join, no matter the job you take, whether you're a doctor, a photographer, a graphic design artist, an infantry person, a pilot, no matter what, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, you are a soldier. You will always be trained as a soldier, and you always have to have those basic soldier skills so that you can do your job, your MOS, and then they can pick you up, put you in a war zone, and be a soldier. So my tours, I did a few TDYs pertinent to my job, and so actually getting full-on deployed to a combat zone, no, I never experienced that. I did volunteer for it, and that is actually how during the war game training, I got injured and was pulled from deployment and wound up getting medically discharged due to my injuries, and was not able to go serve in the sandbox, but not for trying. What was your biggest takeaway from being in the military? How did it change you as a person? Again, kind of just going back to what I was talking about in the beginning, it really just helped me better appreciate everyone around me, be more respectful, have that kind of personal courage, personal integrity, and honestly, it really just further solidified what it means to do the hard right over the easy wrong. And also, it helped me to walk with a purpose. I see so many freaking people that just lollygag out in public on the sidewalk, pedestrians, and I'm just like, move with a purpose, people. Pick a lane and get to it. Damn. What are your thoughts on Colin Kaepernick? Now, another comment said, hey, Chase, I know you and Max don't really sports, but I am aware that Colin Kaepernick, Samsonite, he's apparently decided not to stand up during the national anthem. Honestly, I think it's kind of bullshit, but you know what? That's the beautiful part about living in a country where you have the freedom of speech and ability to do whatever you want. Honestly, I think it's a huge disrespect, but you know what? You can't be mad at someone for expressing their right for exactly what I serve for. Do you still own a firearm? Just these two guns right here. That was stupid. No, I currently do not own any firearms. But not to say that I don't want one. I do. I miss my rifle. You mentioned in an earlier video you wanted to put in an OCS package, Officer Candidate School, together if not for your injury. What motivated you to pursue an officer career? Honestly, I promoted pretty quickly through the ranks in my time there. Actually, I made E6 Staff Sergeant in just under 5 years in the Army, and that was really, really hard to do, really in any branch, but really hard to do, especially my job. And I just saw the leadership potential that officers had, and I mean, honestly, they make a little bit more money too. So I really was just I already had the leadership experience, I had the rank, I wanted to just transfer over and try something different and new. Describe one memory from the military that you will or cannot ever forget. Ooh, so many. Okay, all right, here's one way early on in my career. I didn't always make the best decisions, and I was exposed to, kind of like when you go out to college for the first time, I'm assuming this is what happens, you're out from underneath your parents' guidance, and you can literally just do whatever you want. Now, I was in the same boat. I was 18 when I graduated boot camp, 18 when I went to my first duty station, and I was kind of, I was drinking, I was going out, but at the same time, I kind of had the safety net of Uncle Sam and my peers. And so one weekend, things got a little too cray-cray, and I was trying to make it back into my barracks room. I lived on the first floor at the time. Passed out halfway getting into my window, and had the staff duty, basically the person who's in charge of the quarters on 24 hours, kindly pushed me back into my room, because basically I crawled in halfway, made it on my bed, thought I was home safe, but my lower half is still sticking out the window. And apparently before that, we were in battalion formation, so me and hundreds, if not thousands of other soldiers, with the whole company command, I decided to catcall my company commander. Captain Clara, or was it Laura? I think it was Laura. Laura Abraham. If you're still watching, if you're still out there, we used to call you Captain Babraham, and I think you knew it. I decided to catcall her in the middle of brigade formation. Not my proudest moment, but luckily one of my buddies behind me swiftly kicked me in my 5th point of contact, and I locked it up. So that was really funny, but so many other memories. Honestly, I could do a whole video just on military memories. Some good, some bad, some scary. All right, been considering enlisting in the Army in hopes of becoming a pilot. Would you say that it is a hard job to get in the military? Yes, becoming a pilot is one of the most scrutinous and highly filtered through jobs that you can go apply for. It's a lot of training, a lot of medical clearance. It's not to say it's impossible, but you expect to do a lot of work for it. What made you get out of the Army? Like I said earlier, I was injured. I volunteered for a deployment, and in the pre-deployment training, I was leading an ambush against the OPFOR. OPFOR is the opposing force. Basically, we're playing war games, and I was leading an ambush with my squad, and we're going up against a convoy, and just in the heat of the moment, I wound up tearing my hamstring, semi-slipped my L1, L2 vertebrae, and damaged my hips. The hips problem actually evolved later because of the injury and trying to go back into the training too soon. I wound up having to have both of my hips completely reconstructed. So what that means is that they did a surgical dislocation of both of my hips, ground down, shaved down the top layers of my femur head, both sides, popped it back into place. And then I have 2 pins on either side of my hips to help keep me from having the same problem. So basically my femur was just all up in that mamma jamma, all up in my hip socket. I was in excruciating pain, I couldn't walk, I was getting pulled from assignments left and right. Wound up getting put into a medical hold unit. I actually served about my last year and a half active duty in the Warrior Transition Unit at Fort Sam Houston. Actually on Brooke Army Medical Center, Fort Sam Houston. So I had one surgery, one side of my hip. I was completely bedridden for about a month to 2 months, and then once I could begin to put toe touch weight on it, I was going through physical therapy, rehab, crutches. I was completely immobilized for about 3 to 6 months, and then I learned how to walk again. And as soon as I could start putting weight on that one side, they went back and did my other hip. So, and then I wound up getting medically retired, actually. So it was not my choice to get out. It just wasn't in the cards for me to stay in. Where are your airborne wings at? Funny story, when I was leaving my AIT from DLI in Monterey to go to my secondary AIT in Goodfellow Air Force Base in San Angelo, Texas, I was supposed to go to airborne school. I was supposed to go to jump school, and my packet went in, but there was a change of command, and my paperwork kind of just got lost in the shuffle, and my orders got lost, and I never made it back to airborne school. So I really wanted to do airborne, wanted to do air assault. Our dad was an 11 Bravo. He was an infantryman, served at the 101st Airborne in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. with the Screaming Eagles, and he was airborne air assault all the way. So thank you so much for all your questions. I love talking about my military service. Hands down, I would never change anything that I've ever done. Like I've said before, the timing could not have been shittier. Shortly after I joined, our father found out that he was diagnosed with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, and so unfortunately, from diagnosis to when he passed away was about 18 months, and I was not present for nearly as much of that as I would have hoped to. So luckily I had some really great command that allowed me to take emergency leave, and I was present for when he passed, literally when he passed. I tried to get out of the military, and damn. Once I found out that he was ill, there is such a thing as, I forget the exact term, but basically if you can prove there's a significant need for you to be at home, they will let you go. I put in my paperwork, I tried to get out. My dad stopped me. He actually flew out immediately, stayed with me in California for about 4 days, and just drilled into me to not abandon this path that I had set upon myself for my life, and that it was something that he wanted to see me succeed in so badly, and he knew that if I stopped, it would just change my life, not for the better. So I tried to get out, but Pops had other plans for me. So I would have stayed in if I could have, but I got injured, got banged up, kicked out, so that's that. I love my time in the military. The friends that I made will always be my friends. I still see them from time to time being here in the DC area. Well, actually next week we're moving into DC. So I cannot see them for years, and you pick right back up. Those relationships will never die. You always have a brother and sister. You always have a friend. And I think anyone who is interested in serving the military, do your due diligence, do your homework, talk to a recruiter, get anything and everything in writing. Never believe anything until it happens. Hurry up and wait. Embrace the suck. These are all things that you're just gonna have to get over with. It's all mental. The physical part they will train you on. The mental part they will train you on as well, but that basic training, that initial processing is a time to weed out people that are meant to be there and people that are not. So I hope this answered your questions. I would love to hear your experiences in the military. You know, what did you like? What didn't you like? What did you take away? Why did you stay in? Why did you get out? You know, I think the military has a lot to offer for a lot of people, and it's for some and it's not for others. So I think, again, it's something that I wouldn't change for the world, despite kind of having that crappy timing around my family time. But again, guys, ever forward, could not express that enough. Really, when my dad came out to visit me and got me to stay in the Army, was a time that he just drilled into me that ever forward mindset. It was something that he picked up from his time in service. Actually, I think when he was National Guard before he went active duty. And that was the time that I knew I had to just dig deep and drive on. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.